Most people are doing everything they can to avoid the moment where nothing is happening. Even when we say we're too busy and wish we didn't have to do anything, everybody's definition of doing nothing probably includes doing something. And without any fixing or solving or input, without any entertainment, without anything to do, it doesn't take very long for most of us to get at least a little bit uncomfortable. And at some point, that discomfort usually sends a signal to get up and start something or finish something or zone out by doing something brainless or numb out by doing something that's probably not good for us. But none of that is actually doing nothing. Those are all either effort or distraction. So today we're going to talk about the power of doing nothing at all. And in this context, that doesn't have anything to do with giving in or giving up or being passive or lazy or unmotivated. Right now we're talking about learning to sit still with what's already here. And that gets uncomfortable because when you take away all the busyness and all the distractions, you're left with just your thoughts and your feelings. And you start thinking about everything that you need to do and everything that you want to do and everything that you feel like you should do and everything in your life that you might be labeling as wrong or unwanted finds its way up to the surface of your attention pretty quickly. And all the feelings that go along with that kind of thinking get stirred up too. And this big internal dialogue is off to the races, and that's not doing nothing either. For us, sitting with whatever comes up is part of the information seeking process. And part of that process is letting your thoughts play themselves out, learning to let them rise and fall without struggling against them or stirring up the emotions that get lost in the past or the future. That's the challenge, because what you're really looking for is the pathway in your head that's always only here and now. And it is in there. That's where you find the part of you that knows what you really need and what actually needs to be done. But it usually isn't going to come in screaming. It's almost always sitting there pretty quietly in the background, waiting for you to get ready to listen. It's always very patiently waiting for all the internal noise to die down so that it has a chance to speak and be heard. And for most of us, that's going to take some practice. The power of doing nothing at all and learning to sit with your feelings has been scientifically proven to be good for your brain. And of course, I'm not talking about a sedentary lifestyle. Exercise and movement are absolutely good for your brain. What we're talking about here is more commonly called meditation, and studies have shown that meditation leads to changes in the brain, especially in the regions involved with emotional regulation and memory. But that does require some regular practice. And this is where a lot of people throw in the towel because meditation gets misunderstood. I can't tell you how many people have come to me saying that they can't meditate because they can't sit like that or they can't stop thinking. And this isn't about sitting in a specific position or trying to empty your mind completely. For us, this is about staying present long enough to notice what's been trying to get your attention. Thoughts rise and fall, and emotions shift, and sensations move through the body, and none of that needs to be fixed. The practice is simply to sit with whatever comes up. And outside of just being good for your brain, you're going to find a whole lot of information about what you want and what you don't want, what needs to be done, and what needs to be studied more deeply without actively digging for it. You're going to learn how to let it come to you. And it's usually going to come with a feeling. Now, this is where the method that I teach for meditation becomes a little unconventional. Through many, many hours of personal practice and teaching other people how to meditate, I started to notice that the most powerful shift in awareness and the most meaningful change wasn't coming so much from a change in thinking or the absence of thinking, but from acknowledging a feeling. And this does go back to what we were talking about last time, and the idea that No emotion is inherently positive or negative. They're all just coming up with information. And that doesn't mean that you won't do some thinking, but beating yourself up for thinking just leads to more thinking about something that's probably taking you away from the answers and the truth that you're looking for. And here's the really magical part that's actually the really practical part of learning to sit. Most of the answers people are looking for don't come from thinking harder or stirring up thoughts that come from painful places. They come from listening longer. And once you get past the part where your thoughts are actively streaming, you're probably going to notice a theme. And the only real goal here is to just sit back and observe that internal dialogue until it wears itself out a little bit. Even if it's focused on a problem or complaining about something, eventually all that thinking is going to settle down. And this is the perfect moment to work on identifying the primary emotion that came up with that stream of thought without trying to flip it at this point, without trying to change it, and just sit with it. When you sit with the emotion without the active thinking, something really interesting happens. The story around the feeling loosens up. And if it's directly related to something that feels like a problem, instead of asking, how do I get rid of this? You start asking, what is this trying to teach me? And again, we're not talking about active thought here. You're still in that observer perspective, just listening to what's happening on the inside. And that opens up the part of your brain that doesn't have to go looking for solutions. That's the part that already knows. That's the part that has been waiting for your attention. And it really does know what you need and what's best for you. And in time, it absolutely will speak. But very often, the answer that you've been looking for won't come with words at first. It usually comes with another feeling. And I'm not going to lie, it isn't always going to come with a warm, fuzzy one. And that's okay. If something even more uncomfortable comes up, you know you've really got something to work on. And the challenge is still just to sit with it. And I know that's not always easy. So let's talk about how to do it. The instructions for this practice are really simple and honestly pretty brief, but this kind of stillness can be challenging, especially at first. Again, probably uncomfortable. And then it'll probably get at least a little bit boring. And that's usually a sign that you're right at the edge of something important, or at least something in some way useful. And this is where most people give up on the sitting practice, because right about now, your brain will start looking for something to do. And that's why I mean really doing nothing at all. This is where the answers are. And this is the part that's so powerful. I'm talking about no TV, no phone, no music, no food, no coffee, no tea. Best case scenario, not even a water bottle. And not overly focused on your own comfort, because those are all ways for your brain to run away when it starts to get uncomfortable. And that's why I wouldn't recommend that you lay down. That can lead to sleep, and sleep in this context is just another escape. And even though I am a fan of guided meditations and I create guided meditations for my students, that's not what we're talking about here. Even that can become a distraction. I really am talking about just sitting and doing literally nothing. It doesn't really matter where, but it's good if it's in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. And your sitting position doesn't really matter. All that matters is the absence of stimulus. And if something captures your attention, see if you can just let that be. If you think it's something that you need to do later, this is just a great reminder and motivation to do it later. And if you forgot to do something earlier, this is a great reminder to do it when you're done with this. But right now, unless an emergency suddenly breaks out in the middle of your experience, nothing else needs to be done. You're making a decision to sit with whatever comes up just the way it is and let it play out however it plays out. And that's it. There are so many benefits that come with this. This is a great way to solve a problem, and it's a great way to change your attitude. If you've got a problem to solve and you commit to sitting with absolutely nothing else to capture your attention, without even a notebook to write on and nothing else to distract you, there's a really good chance that your brain is going to get bored with stirring questions and excuses and problems and start looking around for answers. And maybe not the forever answer to every problem or the perfect answer to this one, but that's where the attitude adjustment happens, or at least a noticeable shift. Even if that's all you get, it's still super powerful, because if you're feeling stuck or you don't have the energy or motivation to make a meaningful change, all that sitting will probably turn into at least a sense of restlessness. And that feeling almost always leads to ideas for taking action or the desire to get up and do something that needs to be done. And if you've got your intention set on moving in the right direction, those are some of the answers that your brain has already been looking for. Every meditation isn't about some great, big, huge breakthrough. That's why it really is something that you want to do on a regular basis. It takes practice. Some days you'll just sit with whatever comes up, and when you're done, you really might not feel all that different. But if you keep doing it, you're going to end up with a whole lot of useful information and a tool to help you flip some of those seemingly negative emotions around in your head without having to force it, and a way to identify the parts of you that really do need your attention, and a practical method for lining up with the emotions that match what you really want. This is the portal to the part of you that holds all the energy and answers that you've been looking for. It's where you find your true power. This is how you prepare yourself for making meaningful plans for the future and taking inspired action. So from here on out, whenever I talk about meditation, especially when I'm offering ideas for breath work or visual focal points or tactile grounding points, I want you to know that those are just ideas. This part right here is the important part. Sitting with your feelings teaches you how to tolerate discomfort without immediately reacting to it or running away from it. It helps you get ready to move into new territory and prepares you for change. And with your intentions set on the energy of creating something new and meaningful in your life, you can start sending your brain off on a mission to find the answers and emotions that lead to true desire. And best of all, if nothing else, even if you don't know exactly what you want, even if you're still not sure about exactly where you want to go, doing nothing on purpose is such a great way to do something good for your brain and start feeling better about where you are right now.